You know that feeling? It's maybe 4 p.m. on a Sunday.
Oh, I know it well.
You're physically on your sofa.
Yeah.
You're safe. Maybe there's a blanket. The house is quiet, but your brain.
Your brain is not on the sofa.
Not at all. It's already at the office. It's sitting in Monday traffic. It's answering that one email you've been avoiding for 3 days. You are physically relaxing, but mentally, you're, I don't know, running a marathon.
The classic Sunday scaries. It's that specific dissonance where your body is in rest mode, but your cortisol levels are already sprinting toward Monday. It's a universal thing.
Exactly. And, usually when we want to fix this, when we want to hack our productivity or our mental state, we turn to the heavy hitters. We read these complex psychology books or listen to neuroscientists or dive into these dense productivity systems. But today, we're doing something completely different.
We really are.
We're looking at a conversation from a source called Speak English with Class. Now, before you hit skip, yes, it's technically a resource for language learners. B1 level, specifically. But I want to argue that's actually its superpower.
I agree completely, and here's why. When you have to explain really complex human emotions, anxiety, grief, feeling stuck, using a limited vocabulary, you can't hide behind jargon.
No buzzwords.
You can't use buzzwords. You have to strip the idea down to its absolute rawest, most essential truth.
That's exactly what we found. The hosts, Anna and Jake, they're just having a conversation about happiness habits. But the metaphors they use, things like the sad breakfast or the backpack of pain, I mean, they're stickier than half the self-help books I've read.
It's a masterclass in emotional regulation, just, disguised as an English lesson. It gives you a framework for moving from that passive anxiety, that Sunday scary feeling, to active, manageable control.
So let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to take these simple metaphors and dig into the psychology behind why they actually work. We're going to look at how to stop that morning doom spiral, how to sort of categorize our worries at 3 in the morning, and how to set goals that don't make us feel like failures.
And we should probably start right at the beginning of the day, because the source identifies this very specific trap that, it sets the tone for everything else.
Yes, the sad breakfast. I love this term, even though I am guilty of it almost every single morning.
Aren't we all?
So the source describes this morning where, nothing is technically wrong. The room's the same, the job's the same.
Coffee's the same.
Right. But the outlook is gray. You just wake up feeling like everything is useless.
Right. And outlook is the key word there. It's the lens you're viewing reality through. And the source points out that when we wake up with this gray outlook, we often make a critical error, immediately. We feed it.
This is the sad breakfast for the brain. You wake up feeling low, and what's the very first thing most of us do?
Grab the phone.
Grab the phone. We look at the news, which is usually terrible. We scroll through social media, where everyone else is apparently on a yacht.
While you're in your pajamas eating cold toast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are literally spoon-feeding your brain sadness before you've even brushed your teeth. But here's my question, and I think a lot of listeners will get this. It feels automatic. It feels like I need to check. Why do we do that if we know it makes us feel bad?
Well, this gets into what psychologists call the negativity bias. Our brains are basically wired to scan for threats. We're like Velcro for bad news and Teflon for good news.
Okay.
So when you wake up feeling gray, your brain is looking for evidence to support that feeling. It wants validation. So you doom scroll, not because you enjoy it, but because your brain is trying to say, see, I was right to be anxious. The world is a mess.
So we're just validating our own misery.
Precisely. You're confirming the bias. The source calls it going deeper into a dark tunnel. But what I found really compelling is the solution they talk about. They don't just say, think positive thoughts.
Because that never works. You can't just decide to be happy.
Exactly. So they suggest something mechanical. They call it short-circuiting.
Now, a short circuit is usually a bad thing, right? It blows out the lights. But here, it's about interrupting a circuit that's like overheating.
Think of it as a pattern interrupt. The source argues that you can't change your entire life or your deep-seated mood in an instant. It's too big of an ask.
Yeah.
But you can change the next 5 minutes.
I love how specific the examples were. It wasn't meditate for an hour. It was open a window, play exactly one happy song.
Make a simple breakfast, go for a 10-minute walk.
It sounds so trivial.
It does, doesn't it?
True.
But biologically, this is about state change. You are using physical sensation, cool air, the taste of coffee, the rhythm of music to signal safety to your nervous system. You're physically interrupting the mental loop.
So you're not trying to think your way out of the sad breakfast. You're acting your way out.
Correct. You disrupt the pattern. And they're clear this doesn't fix the macro problems. The bills are still there, the stress is still real, but by doing that one physical act, you change the trajectory of the morning.
There's this beautiful analogy they use for why this is so necessary. They compare the mind to a garden. And this really hit me. They said, weeds grow by themselves.
That is a profound insight. If you just stop and think about it for a second, weeds, which in this metaphor are negative news, drama, old memories, that time you tripped in high school, they don't require any effort. They are the default state of an untended mind. If you do nothing, you get weeds.
It's entropy, basically. Chaos increases unless you add energy.
Exactly. So flowers, or good seeds, they have to be planted on purpose. Gratitude, kindness, a moment of calm, those aren't, natural occurrences in a stressed brain. They have to be cultivated.
So if I'm just coasting, I'm actually letting the weeds take over.
Yes. And the source emphasizes you don't have to be positive all the time. That's impossible and, frankly, a bit toxic. But you do have to intentionally plant one small good seed to counteract the weeds. It's active maintenance versus passive decay.
I think that's such a helpful way to look at it. It sort of takes the guilt out of feeling bad. It's just, hey, the weeds are growing. The brain is doing its thing. Time to plant a flower.
It shifts the focus from fixing yourself to simply tending the garden.
Okay, so we've handled the morning, avoided the sad breakfast, but now let's fast forward. The day's over, you're lying in bed, and suddenly your brain decides it's the perfect time to solve every single problem you have ever had. The source calls this spiraling.
This is where a small worry just becomes a whole narrative. They describe it as the thought going down and down, and there's this incredibly relatable image they use, trying to control the whole world from my pillow.
Oh, this is my 3 a.m. special. I'm lying there, staring at the ceiling, convinced that if I just think hard enough about inflation, or my career, or that weird text I sent, I can fix it. It feels like work, but really I'm just suffering.
You're trying to play God from your bedroom, and the feeling that comes with this, the source says, is keeping your head above water. You're not swimming, you're not relaxing, you are just barely surviving the flood of thoughts.
So how do we stop the spiral? Because at 3 a.m, logic is, out the window.
The source suggests a visual exercise. It's classic stoicism, really, but just distilled for clarity. You imagine, or you can actually draw 2 circles. Circle 1, can control. Circle 2, can't control.
Okay, and what goes in that can't control bucket?
The past, that's a huge one. Other people's opinions, what your boss really thinks. World news, the weather, the economy. And the source notes something pretty staggering. About 90% of our anxiety usually lives in this can't control circle.
90%. So we are burning all this mental fuel on things we literally cannot touch.
Exactly. We are ruminating on open loops that we have no power to close. And the can control circle, it's usually much smaller, but much more tangible.
Like what?
What time you go to sleep, what you eat for breakfast, putting your phone away, sending one message to a friend.
Okay, so here's the rule the source suggests, and I think this is brilliant. It's the quiet park rule. Can you break that down?
Sure. The rule is, if a worry falls into the can't control circle, like, say, will the housing market crash?
Right.
You're allowed to notice it. You don't pretend it doesn't exist.
Right.
But, and this is the kicker, you are not allowed to stay there. You notice it, and then you physically move your brain to the quiet park, which is the can control circle.
And what do you do in the quiet park?
You do one small, tangible thing. Drink a glass of water, adjust your pillow, write down one task for tomorrow. You move from the noisy street of global worry to the quiet park of personal action.
It reminds me of what they said about the can control circle being a place of rest, which sounds counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
Doing something feels like work.
But worrying is exhausting because it never resolves. Action resolves the loop. Washing a dish is a closed loop. Beginning, middle, end. Worrying about the future has no end. That's why action is actually restful for the brain.
Speaking of action, let's talk about the medium term. We've done morning, we've done night. What about when you just feel stuck? The source talks about being stuck in a rut.
And this brings us to the comparison trap. They use that old idiom, the grass isn't always greener, which we've all heard a million times. But it's how they describe the feeling of your own life that got me. They talked about looking at social media and feeling like your own life is just dry ground.
Oh, it's that feeling of everyone else has the script and I lost mine.
Exactly. And when you feel that way, when you feel like you're driving in circles, the source introduces my absolute favorite metaphor from this entire deep dive: headlights in the fog.
This is such a good visual. Explain how it works.
Okay, so imagine you are driving at night in heavy fog. You feel stuck. You feel anxious. The mistake most of us make is we try to see the destination.
The 10-year plan.
We want to see the 10-year plan. We want to know exactly where we'll be when we're 50. But in fog, you can't see the horizon. And if you stare into the fog, you just get disoriented.
You panic. You freeze up.
You do. But here's the truth. You don't need to see the destination. You only need headlights that show you the next 3 meters. That's it.
Okay.
If you can see 3 meters, you can move. And when you move 3 meters, guess what?
You can see the next 3 meters.
Precisely. You don't need a map of the whole world. You just need enough visibility for the immediate next step.
So what are the headlights in real life? I mean, 3 meters is a metaphor. What's the actual action?
The source proposes clear and kind goals.
Clear and kind. I love that.
We should all have that on our foreheads. Clear, so your brain knows exactly what to do. Kind, so you don't crush yourself with pressure. And they gave a really specific framework for this: health, work, and heart.
Just 3 small things.
And look at the scale of these goals. This is important. For health, it wasn't run a marathon. It was walk 20 minutes.
Achievable.
For work, it wasn't get a promotion. It was learn something new for 20 minutes. And for heart, it was just send one message to someone you care about.
These are the headlights. They don't solve the midlife crisis. They don't fix your career instantly, but they get you through the fog. They let you bounce back. Another idiom they used.
Right. You can't bounce back if you're paralyzed by a need to see the whole road. You can only bounce back if you take that next immediate step.
Now, I want to pivot to the heaviest part of this, because sometimes you're not just stuck in a rut or dealing with Sunday scaries. Sometimes something really bad has actually happened. A breakup. A loss, a major failure. The source transitions into talking about this deep pain.
This was the most touching part of the dialogue, I thought. They make a distinction between brooding and living.
Brooding, that's such a great word. It sounds like a chicken sitting on an egg.
That's literally where it comes from. But in a human context, it means sitting on a sad thought, keeping it warm, replaying conversations. Why did they say that? What if I had done this? The source argues, and I think this is crucial, that you cannot think your way out of heartache.
You have to live your way through it. That is such a powerful distinction.
Yeah.
Because when I'm hurting, all I want to do is think. I want to analyze the pain until I understand it.
But the thinking is circular. It traps you. The living is linear. It moves you forward. And they use the backpack analogy here.
Right. Pain is a backpack. It's heavy. You have to put it on. You can't just set it down because you're sad about it. You have to carry it.
But the key is you don't sit on the floor with the backpack. That's the brooding. You keep walking. Slowly.
You do the normal routine.
You shower, you eat, you see a friend, you walk with the weight. And the source promises that eventually the backpack feels lighter. And I love how they phrase this. It feels lighter not because the backpack changed, the loss is still real, but because you got stronger. Or maybe you just got used to the rhythm of carrying it.
For those moments when the backpack feels too heavy to even stand up with, when the problem feels like this giant, overwhelming monster, they offered the one-sentence rule.
This is a technique for what they call quiet courage. When we're overwhelmed, we tend to write these long, dramatic stories in our heads. I'm lonely and I'll always be lonely and no one likes me.
We catastrophize. We write a tragedy.
Right. The one-sentence rule forces you to constrain the monster. You take a piece of paper and write, the problem is, and you have to finish it in one simple sentence.
No 20-page manifestos. Just, the problem is I feel lonely, or the problem is I can't pay this bill.
Exactly. You define the monster. When you name it simply, it shrinks. And then step 2, you write 3 small things to try. Not solve the problem, just things to try.
So if the problem is loneliness, the steps might be 1, join a group. 2, call a friend. 3, go read a book in a coffee shop.
It breaks the paralysis. It turns overwhelmed into processing. That is what they mean by quiet courage. It's not roaring at the world. It's just looking the problem in the eye and taking one tiny step.
It really connects back to everything else we've talked about. Whether it's the sad breakfast or the headlights, it's all about shrinking the challenge down to a size that a human being can actually handle.
It's all about agency. The world is huge and uncontrollable. Your next 5 minutes, those are yours.
Before we wrap up, I want to quickly revisit some of the vocabulary, because even though this was an English lesson, these idioms are like doing a lot of heavy lifting in these frameworks.
They really are. Dwelling versus spiraling. Dwelling is sitting in the sadness. Spiraling is the anxiety growing out of control.
Both require that short-circuiting we talked about earlier.
Exactly. And stuck in a rut versus keeping your head above water.
One is boredom, the other is pure survival mode. And both need the headlights to find a way out.
And of course, the grass isn't always greener. A constant reminder that the comparison game is rigged. You're comparing your blooper reel to everyone else's highlight reel.
There was one final idiom the source used that I think sums this whole philosophy up perfectly. The ball is in your court.
It's a tennis metaphor, obviously. It means it's your turn to act. Life serves you a situation. Maybe it's a rainy Sunday, a breakup, a bad mood. You can't control the serve.
You definitely can't control the serve.
No. But the ball is in your court now. How do you return it? Do you smash it? Do you just gently tap it over the net? Or do you just let it hit you?
The point is, a return is required. Passive waiting just lets the weeds grow.
Exactly.
You know, what I really appreciate about this source material, and why I'm so glad we dove into it, is that it avoids that whole toxic positivity trap.
Completely.
It isn't telling you to just smile when you're sad.
Yeah.
It isn't telling you that good vibes only is a real strategy.
No, not at all. It acknowledges the sad breakfast. It acknowledges the backpack of pain. It validates the struggle. It just argues that while the struggle is inevitable, staying paralyzed by it is optional.
It's about a mechanical way to move thoughts from the uncontrollable bucket to the controllable one. It's less about being happy and more about, well, gardening.
That's it. Happiness isn't a permanent state to achieve. It's a garden that needs weeding every single day.
So here's the question I want to leave everyone with today. If our brain really is a garden, and if the weeds, the negativity, the worry, the drama, if they really do grow automatically when we aren't looking,
Yeah.
what are you going to plant in the next 5 minutes?
Just one seed. That's all it takes.
Something to think about the next time you wake up with a sad breakfast. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
See you next time.